the Mitpachat.
Can you imagine a mitzvah so powerful it could save your life? And there are no shortage of stories chronicling its legendary power. These are a few of those stories. You're watching the Mitpachat Chronicles.
Hi everyone, Visiyata Dishmaya. Welcome to the Mitpachat Chronicles. And if you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing so that you can stay up to date with all the latest episodes. All right, y'all, I'm super excited because Persia's in the house. Here today to talk about her journey in head coverings is one of my oldest and greatest friends in Klal Yisrael. I'd like to welcome Leah. Leah Jun Chubi Chotare, how are you? How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me, Devorah Esther. This is a real honor.
Listen, I think, like, first of all, the pandemic has kept us away for I don't know how long.
Too long.
I mean, I'm just so excited to have you on, to see you. I just, I can't wait to give you a hug in person. I'm just so happy, like, to have you on, really.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
I'm telling you, I want to tell people how we kind of met, because you really have been, you were like, aside from Devorah, which was also a guest on this this series, you have literally been one of my oldest friends since I've come into Klal Yisrael. You were actually there the day I got my conversion certificate. Wow. I'd like to say, do you remember that day? It was like
yes, I do.
I gotta say, like, I want to say I've kind of been like adopted into the, Great Neck community. It was like the first community that I went into, and I don't know if it's like I've not left. Between the food, the friends, like the shiur, like everything, it's just been really great. And I always tell people, like, especially like people who come from a Spanish background, it's hard to find a Spanish community. So I say the Persians are the next best thing. It's like so much the same in every way. So, but how are things going? It's been so long since I've seen you.
Baruch Hashem, things are kind of getting back to normal. I'm back in school teaching. This whole year we were able to teach in school, Baruch Hashem. Really, it's such a chesed from the Shamayim to be back to normal, Klal Yisrael to be back to normal. So nice to see you, even though Zoom has become part of our lives, and Zoom is probably the best gift that Hashem gave to us out of Corona.
You are right. One of the best things, and how many shiurim, right? Like before it was very hard. I had to take a day off to go to New York. And now it's like you can do it right from your home. It's like, it's amazing.
Baruch Hashem, really, Baruch Hashem. It's a gift.
It certainly is a gift. Speaking of gifts, the gift that Hashem has given all married women. Now, some do not see it as a gift, the mitpachat. Now, I got to tell you, and so far we've had guests on who, they talked about the difficulty it was for themselves, the difficulty it was perhaps convincing their husband. But I got to tell you, there is a difficulty that perhaps a lot of people face that no one ever talks about, and it's the community difficulty. Like, when it comes to the mitpachat, we are all in this, like, we are in everyone's business, literally. So
I don't know why.
Right? Like, how was it for you? Because I'm sure, like, the Persian community is a very tight-knit community. For those who don't know, it's a very tight-knit community. And, everyone knows everyone. Right? Like everyone knows everyone.
That's right.
And everyone knows everything that's going on with everyone, including when a woman decides, I'm going to take on the mitpachat. So why do you think this is? How, what was it like for you? And why do you think this is? Why do you think we have this issue?
So first of all, covering hair with anything in this community was always like a big deal. When I started to cover, which was over 20 years ago, there was maybe like a couple of ladies in a different community, in a different Persian community that were covering. I kind of had the story of like Abraham Avinu. My mother had a hair salon, and for me to cover my hair was like
God
a
forbid
stab.
this.
It was like really difficult. At that time, when I wanted to cover my hair, there was nobody that I could even ask for help. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to cover only with a tichel, with a mitpachat. But at that time, my husband is like, you know what? Start with a sheitel. It's already so hard for you, start with a sheitel. And I remember 20 years ago, the sheitel was so modest. Like,
Right.
it came up to the longest sheitel you could buy, I remember, was from Georgie, came to the
The shoulders.
shoulders. And there was no such thing as like highlights. There was no such thing like you bought like dark brown, black sheitel. And I remember going with my friend. She was like, come, I'll take you. And we got this sheitel. And I remember the first time I wore this sheitel to a party, I think it was like crooked. And the whole time I'm like, how are people thinking of me? And you know what? People were very shocked because nobody was covering their hair. It wasn't something that people in our community did. I didn't even have a good friend that I could go to. Just covering their hair was like, okay, the Rabbanit covered her hair, but she's the Rabbanit, you
Of course,
know.
we expect that from her, right?
Yeah, so Baruch Hashem, little by little, I started with the sheitel, and I have to admit, my sheitel did get longer, and it did get curly, and I went through all of that. And you know what? And I'm so proud because I know a lot of the women that wear a mitpachat, they don't have that. Like when I came to them, they're like, you know, I really don't understand what you went through. I never covered with a sheitel.
Right.
From the beginning, I wore the I don't know your test. So I just want you to know that I got to the longer sheitel, to the curls, but little by little, Hashem just sent me these like little hugs saying like, this is really not for you. And the best one was in Rabbi Chaimov's class. We had a Shalom Bayit class in my house. And at the end of the class, one of the men came up to me and is like, wow, you look so beautiful with that curly sheitel tonight.
And that was it. I'm sure that was it for you.
And I was like horrified. Like I remember like turning colors and like later on telling my husband, okay, I can't curl the sheitel anymore. Like the curling is done. Like if a man is just gonna come and tell me how gorgeous I look, then I'm defeating the purpose.
The purpose, right.
The purpose. So that's when the curling stopped. Then I was zoche to go to a Benot Melachim class given in Torah, or it was like a video at that time. And I'll never forget, it was the time when the Japanese had taken hostage 2 of our boys. It seemed like someone had sent 2 Bahrim with drugs, didn't tell them it was drugs, if I remember the story correctly. And what happens, they go to Japan and they get them and they put these 2 Bahrim in like jail by themselves. And the sister came on and she was begging everybody. She's like, my brothers are in jail. All they eat are like rotten tomatoes. Please, you have to do something. You have to do something for them. So I remember coming home that night and I'm like, I got to cut my sheitel. Like, I can't walk around with this like long sheitel. Like, they need me. Like, I can't do this. And I remember calling Rabbi Chaimov, Hashem should bless him. And I'm like, Rabbi, I want to cut my sheitel. And I remember he was like, you can do whatever you feel is the best. Like, no pressure, no, you gotta do it. Like, right. That's no, like he put me in a place where he made me feel like, yeah, I'm doing the right thing and I should go for it. And that's what happened. And I started to continue with the shorter sheitel. And as time went by, I found myself, I was like the tichol sheitel person. Have you met those women?
Yes.
Like they
I know a few. No, I know a few. I do. I know a few of them.
They don't always wear a sheitel. They also go with the tichol.
Right.
So that's who I was until, look at this, until I started volunteering in North Shore Hospital,
Right.
like, and I just felt more professional with my wig.
Right.
And I became one of those women, we're going to talk another, those women that like the wig was like stuck to my head from the minute I opened my eyes till the minute I went to sleep. Like you couldn't find me in a mitpachat the whole day. Like I was like stuck. Like I was like, this is my crown. My shaitel is my crown. That's where I got to.
Right.
And then Hashem should bless Rabbi Netaneli. He's a Rav in Los Angeles, I think in California. A girl got sick there, and he had told one of my good friends, Golnar, he said, find 40 ladies who cover with a shaitel and ask them to wear a mitpachat, a tichel for 40 days. And of course, she came to me, and I said, of course. And it was so much fun because it was a whole group of us.
Right.
We were doing it together. We felt so good. We felt so proud. So we did it.
Right.
So we did it. Hashem. So, but the shaitel came back on after 40. Right? The shaitel came back on. So something happened that this really like hits the jackpot. Rabbanit Manasseh became sick.
Yes.
Do you remember her?
Yes.
It's Rabbanit Ruth Manasseh,
Yes.
who I had no connection with. I didn't know who she really was, even though she was in Great Neck. I had no connection with her. I had heard of her, maybe heard one or two of her shiurim, but she became sick. And one of her students is a best friend to my sister. So one night I got a phone call, and my sister friend tells me, you know, Rabbanit Manasseh is really sick. I know you've done this before. You did 40 days of only wearing the mitpachat for someone that was sick. Do you think you could do it again for Rabbanit Manasseh? And I don't know what happened to me. I'm like, how could you ask me to do that? I can't believe you. My shaitel is my crown. And I just went on and on and on off at this poor girl till the point where she said, please forgive me. I'm sorry. I called you. I shouldn't have. Like, she left like crying.
Aww.
And I hung up the phone on her, and I'm like in the kitchen. I'll never forget. I'm like, how could she do that? How could she ask me? I don't know what came over me.
Right.
But of course, Chasdei Hashem, I have a Yetzer Tov.
Yeah.
And my Yetzer Tov all night was like,
how could you do that? How could you slam the phone on her?
I'm like, the Rabbanit, the holy Rabbanit needs you to cover your hair for 40 days. And that's how you react. That's what you do.
Yeah.
What happened to Lo Ta'amod Al Dam Recha?
Right.
What happened to caring for another Jew? And what a special Jew.
Right.
And it got to me. And this time I went over to my husband, because if you remember in the beginning, I told you that when I started to cover, I really wanted to only do mitpachat. And 20 years ago, I don't know what was in style, but there were these like hats that they were kind of like made out of cotton. They were like, so that's what we used to wear. And when I told my husband, actually he was the one, he's like, could you wear the wig for me? So I wanted to wear the mitpachat from the beginning, but of course for Shalom Bayit reasons, I wore the wig. So I came to my husband that night. I could not fall asleep. And I told him, I'm like, this is the case. What do you think I should do? And by the way, my niece was getting married and engaged and bridal shower this month. So I did not have the confidence to show up to a bridal shower and to an engagement. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do. Like,
yeah, because
and when I came,
40 women, there's no 40 women behind you. It's just yourself, you know. Now it's
right, there's no 40 women. There's like nobody. Maybe that girl that I called back and I apologized to, and I had to ask for mechila. So the miracle was that my husband was super supportive, and he's like, "What's the big deal? Why can't you just wear a hat or a mitpachat to the bridal shower or to the engagement. You could do it. Of course you could do it. And I was like,
I
he
can.
believes in me. Like, I can, exactly. Like, he believes it. And that's exactly what happened. But remember, it was only supposed to be for 40 days.
Right. And now it's been 20 years.
And I just remember that at 41, 42, 43, I'm like, I don't have to count anymore, right? I can continue to do this. Like, I don't know. I was like, I don't have to count. I really, it's become a part of me. But that's when the Satan is like, no way, Jose.
And he
No
comes
way.
to visit you like 4 or 5 times a day in the beginning, like.
And the Satan was
comes in the form of your family. He comes in the form of your friends and your neighbors. And it's funny. It's like I was talking to Yocheved, and it's like he comes in the form of the birds. Like the birds are even what you're doing. You know, the birds are looking at you. It seems like everyone's looking at you. And now the real test begins. Like, it's one thing, I was talking about this with Yocheved. It's one thing, you've gotten used to it. You've practiced 40 days, and you almost have like this safety net. If people start asking you questions like, oh, well, it's only 40 days. I'm only doing it for this reason. But
excellent.
Now it's day 49, and people are like, yeah, she's still doing this. And you're like, yeah. And then it starts, right? You almost feel like there's bags of tomatoes. In their designer handbags, there's tomatoes waiting to get you. Like, I mean, what was this like? I mean, your community.
So I'll tell you,
one.
The best part was that he sent his messengers were like important people,
Right.
like the people you wouldn't expect. The important people that came and said, like, what are you doing?
Right.
Don't you think it's a Chilul Hashem what you're doing? Like what is this on your head? And I'll never forget.
I gotta agree with you right there, because I remember the first time it happened to me, and I was devastated.
Devastated. That's the word.
It was like
the word.
I felt like if somebody had said that Has v'Shalom, like one of my children had died. That was the reaction on the inside of me. And I remember when it happened to me, and it happened publicly, and it happened, we're actually filming this. It's not going to air on Parshat Pinchas, but when it happened. And I remember that just the fact that it was that parashat, that it gave me hizuk to say, like, Pinchas was the only one, like maybe you're going to be. And I remember I was so devastated, because I think you're hitting on something that I think a lot of women never talk about. And it's the people that you thought would support you in this mitzvah, that you looked up to, that you revered, are now telling you, what are you doing? And I'm thinking, well, what was Sarah Imenu doing? What was Rachel Imenu and Leah doing? What were they doing? I don't think they were wearing the sheitel, and that's no knock on those who wear the sheitel. But to say to me, what are you doing? This is Hilul Hashem. That is what's so devastating.
How could you walk in the street like that? Aren't you embarrassed? Okay, something really important that I'd like to tell all of the daughters of Am Yisrael out there is that we have to be connected to tzaddikim,
right?
And we have to be connected to the right people. Because when I was told that I was a Chilul Hashem, I remember coming home to my husband, and B'siyata Dishmaya HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I give you all the credit for these thoughts. I told my husband, I can't put the wig back on.
Good for you.
He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you don't get it, Mordechai. Look who the Satan sent as his messenger.
Oh.
Look how amazing is this mitzvah. This is like top of the line. And want to know something? I owe this important person the whole zechut. Even though they hurt me, they made me feel bad, but they get the zechut because I chapped right away that the reason I'm getting all of this is because what I'm doing is unbelievable.
I got to tell you, in this moment, what you're saying right now, believe it or not, and I almost want to cry, it's bringing a lot of healing to me. because I never thought of it that way. That the person that also said it to me publicly is now, it's been a big catalyst. And I don't know if you remember, like back then I was teaching Adorn with Dignity before I put it on YouTube, and I caught a lot of flack for that. Like people
I remember.
They were not happy about me teaching that.
I remember. I wish I could take some of it. Can I have some of that? I'm jealous.
No, but it was so amazing that Hashem really does come through, because here I had just come back, I had just come through the mikvah. I'm like kind of new in Klal Yisrael. I took on this mitzvah. It wasn't that difficult for me, but I was so naive to the controversy of it all.
Right.
And so when this happened, it was a sting, because like you said, look who the Satan sent to do this and to do it publicly. And I was like mortified, like I was dying. And I remember,
and you're like, where's my medal? You're like, where's my medal? I was hoping for a medal.
I'm doing something good, I'm teaching something great. And instead, I remember I was talking to Rabbi Cohen, and I was saying that I felt like Julius Caesar, like everyone in the room had a knife and they were all sticking it to me and cheering the Rav on that he was sucking it to me. And I'm like, what's going on? And so I remember, and I actually, when I taught it the second time and put it on YouTube, I actually captured the reaction of when I started teaching it again, because I actually was going to stop, and a rabbini called me from Israel and said, you keep going. And I actually put that first year on the second year to capture my reaction, because I was still so devastated. And wow. I knew then that this mitzvah was going to be with me. And I've taught and given so many talks or lectures or whatever it is. I cannot tell you that the Mitpachat has done so many miracles for me in my own personal story. Like I said before, when I went back to my family, the Mitpachat did miracles that Tzniut would not have been able to do. It would not have been enough for me to be Tzniut. When my family saw me in my Mitpachat, it brought back their own childhood, because their mothers covered, because they covered, and it brought back, here they were thinking, and I remember my grandmother's aunt saying, now I see the justice of Hashem. Like, this is what she's saying to me. We did not do this way, and you come back to us this way. So I love this mitzvah so much. And I feel like incredibly devastated. I don't know another mitzvah that is so controversial the way this one is. And I said, Mamash, for everything that Hashem has done for me, for all the hesed he's done for me, can I at least pick this mitzvah up off the floor, dust it off, and give a few words? And hey, is there anyone else out there who'd like to say a few things about this mitzvah? And I really thought, wouldn't it be great to have women on, not a blog where you're reading, but so they can see these women and the emotion behind their stories. And I thought, like, this, we have so much in common, the women who cover. We've had these, encounters. Unfortunately, they're growing. And what's crazy is that I don't get this kind of feedback from Goyim. I don't get this feedback from Goyim. In fact, I get a lot of support from Goyim. And I was shocked that it was Klal Yisrael that was giving me a lot of hard time. What do you say now? Like, how has it been for you? What do you say now to girls who are facing this decision, especially in a tight-knit community where people really, well, first of all, there's a lot of communities where people have a lot to say and they have no bones about saying it, and they don't care how it comes out. I mean, what do you say to girls who are going through that devastation of the people they look up to saying these things? What do you say to these girls?
So it's really important to have a role model. I think what helped me a lot was that I was learning by Peril Abramowitz. She's now Peril Klein. She gave classes to us, parenting classes. Yes. And I just became so close to her that I wanted to be her. Like I always asked her, I'm like, how come you don't wear, by the Hasidim, she's Hasidish. By the Hasidim, what they do is they wear a short sheitel and they have something on top of their sheitel showing that it's not hair, it's a wig. But she said to me, I don't understand. I'm sure if Hashem wanted us to cover our hair, he didn't want us to put fake hair on top. That's what she told me. And something so, so beautiful was that she always held herself like a queen. She still does. So my role models were like the queens. And we even have here in Great Neck someone that I looked up to for years, who also, her name is Esther Soleimani. And for years, she also wore the most stunning hats, and she was mamash a queen. So when I wanted to do this, every minute I was like, Peril Esther, Peril Esther. They were there for me. They built me up. And of course I had Rabbi Chaimov, because when these people told me like, you're a Chilul Hashem, unfortunately, you start to like doubt yourself and you're like, maybe I am a Chilul Hashem.
Right, because if this person is telling me this, like,
So you need the Rav to tell you, are you joking? You're covering your hair the best way? And I just learned little by little that people don't know better. It's also a lot about confidence. And in the beginning, I used to pray for Chain. Like whenever I used to go to a party, to a wedding, anywhere I had to show up, and I knew that I'm the only Mitpachat wearer, everybody's in a wig, even though they're all my friends, I used to pray. I used to say, Hashem, please give me Chain. Please let me be a Kiddush Hashem. I want to be a Kiddush Hashem.
Yeah.
And I just noticed that really helped me, because those people that made fun all of a sudden are like, what did you do? You look younger. How come you look so beautiful? All of a sudden I was getting all these compliments, and I knew it was because finally I got to the point where I felt super confident that I'm doing the right thing. And Rabbi Chaimov always told us, if somebody calls you a fanatic, that is like a hechsher. You're doing what Hashem wants. So anytime anybody made fun of me, I was like, okay, more hechsherim. I'm getting the hechsherim. And I'll just share with you something that really helped me. One night I was going to do a challah bake in our shul here. And it was like one of the first times I had to wear a mitpachat. And in the beginning, I was wearing either a hat or either like the silk scarf.
Right.
And I'm like, how am I going to match this? Like, this is so difficult. A wig, you just put it on. It doesn't need to match. All of a sudden, I need to be a matching expert. What am I going to do? And then I just said to myself, listen, what are they going to say to you already? Already somebody told you that you look like the washerwoman that schleps around, the shmata woman. Already somebody told you that, your husband is not going to be attracted to you anymore. Already somebody told you that, aren't you? I felt I got it all. There is nothing else anybody could say to me. So I just got up and I'm like, I've had it all. I can only get compliments from now on.
Right.
And that's what happened.
I know.
And that's what happened.
That chain that Hashem gives to you, because I didn't even know. It's funny. Hashem had given this also, and I think gives it to a lot of women that cover this way. I didn't even know what chain was. And it was happening all around, where I would go to the office, and for a time period I was doing these contracts, and when I would leave, people would be like, oh my God, the light of our office is leaving. And I show up and people would be like, you didn't come in yesterday. It was so we missed you. And I'm thinking and this is what it is. It's that chain. It's like this charm. And, it's funny because the sages say that Esther Amelka had this, that she had this chain, that she had this charm about her. And I think that Hashem does. First of all, people are very intrigued with this. They're very intrigued, especially the Goyim. I have to tell you, they're very intrigued that there's a whole series of questions that they ask. One, are you Muslim? And then they're surprised. No, you're not Muslim. Okay, you're Jewish. Okay, well, wait, isn't everybody supposed to cover like this? And then, it's funny. I was told a story. Goyim story. And he said that he was going to hire somebody, right? And he knew that he was Jewish. This guy was Jewish as well. And he asked him a question. It's funny, like it's funny how Hashem does this. And he asked him a question through this Goyim. It was almost like a testing question. It was about working on Shabbos, right? And so he said, yeah, no, it's no problem. I could work on Shabbos. And so interview was over, went on his way. The guy calls back a few days just to follow up. And so he was told, you know, I already made my decision. I'm actually going with somebody else. And he says, oh, can I know what it was that convinced you that made me not a good candidate? And he said, you know, you made a commitment to Hashem. One of them is Shabbos. If you betray Hashem, how do I know you're going to be faithful to me?
Wow.
And I felt like, you know, when I wear my Mitpachat, right, that's what I feel. Like I made a commitment to Hashem. And it's funny because what I've noticed with people, it doesn't have to be Goyim, it doesn't have to be class, like whoever it is. What I've noticed is that even if people don't believe what you believe, so long as they believe that you believe what you believe and you hold to it, then that's when they respect you. And I always feel like it goes back to that pasuk that says we were grasshoppers in their eyes, where a lot of people feel, like you said, they don't have the confidence. And I think that projects out and people will pounce on that. If they feel that you do not have the confidence, they will pounce on that. So it is something that there's something that happens internally. And it's a conversation you have to have with yourself. And then it's the conversation that your inner self has to give you that koyak alongside Hashem to face the world and do this. And to know that you're not a grasshopper, because you can, it's no joke, Mamash, you will find that people you looked up to will probably like say something as you are Hilul Hashem, which is very devastating, I think, to a lot of women. But it's like, there's this whole journey that you go through in head covering, and it's not, ironically, it's not one. It almost seems like even though it's a personal mitzvah, it really is almost like the whole world is in on this in Klal Yisrael. Everybody has an opinion on this.
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. I'll tell you something that meant a lot to me. Like, you know how somebody has like a theme that they need to get rid of? All my life growing up, I heard people around me, I don't want to categorize, but I always heard like, Orthodox women, they don't know how to dress. Orthodox women, they look like the housekeepers. They're always like, you know, I want to say the Persian word. They use the word shalam shulva, like she looks like like she's falling apart. So every morning that I wake up, I'm like, I'm getting rid of that theme.
Right.
Because I am Hashem's daughter. I am a queen. Every morning when I get up, I have to look like Shabbat. And I'll tell you who I learned this from. You'll be shocked. But I learned this from Rabbi Chaimov.
Right.
I know him for almost 18 years. And he's always in this black, long coat, suit, always, like in the house, out of the house, talking, working, like he's always looks mechubad. And when I saw that and spent so much time going to classes, and like no matter what, this jacket never came off. Like, you know, like you want to make a joke like, Rabbi, do you sleep with the black jacket? Like that's
like, I never said it's always black and white, black and white, black and white. It's never like.
So I said to myself, the rabbi doesn't have a mitzvah to be tzniut. I have a 24-hour-a-day mitzvah, and I want to show the world that actually a Bat Yisrael, she should look beautiful at all times. And yes, I went to a wedding like about a month ago, and I came home telling my daughters, you know, for some reason, the mitpachat wearers are gorgeous in my eyes. I don't know, the sheitel wearers, like, it's not, I don't know, the mitpachat wearers have a special chen. And then I was telling Rabbanit Chaimov, she's like, that's what you see. That's not what the world sees. I don't know. Like these benot, it's like the true essence of Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah came out. And you know, we always hear gava is a really bad thing, right? Don't have gava. But when it comes to this mitzvah, I need everybody to inject themselves. Like, you need to be proud of yourself.
Right.
You need to be proud. You need to say to yourself, I am keeping this mitzvah at the highest level.
Right.
How could, if somebody doesn't understand, okay, she doesn't understand, but to be proud, I'm giving myself a medal. I'm giving myself a medal. You know, that's it. I'm giving myself a medal. I'm so proud, and you know, I'll tell you something.
And I pray that Hashem would allow me to pin the medal on you. You're like, I am really, really so proud. Like, listen, I know you personally very well. You know, I know your family, I know your community. Like, I am really, really proud of you because I know it's really tough. It is really, really tough. And I'm telling you, like, I've been in your community. I'm like, you know, like I said, I fancy myself an adoptee of the Persian community out there. And I remember, like, I've had moms of like some of our friends, and they say, you know, why are you covering your beauty? Why are you doing this? Like, I'm telling you, I've had people come out and say this, and I'm like, wait, was I not pretty? Am I not pretty? Like with the mitzvah? You know, it's, you know, I gotta tell you, like,
so I'm looking for the stunning mitpachat look. Like, what I'm looking for, I want those people that don't cover. I'm waiting for them to come and say, wow, your head covering is stunning.
But you know,
to me, that's a compliment.
You do that. Like, I've had people pull me to the side who wear this shape, and I'm sure you've had it too, in a party, whatever, and they do make this comment. It's almost like, hey, your mitbacha looks really great. And it's always like they don't want anyone to know that they said this, right? Because they feel like, oh my gosh, if people know that I said this. I mean, I've had people from, you know, the Hasidim as well that say, I really love your mitpachat. And like you said, how you matched it, the colors, the this and that. I mean, and it's almost like, you know, I feel it because you have to almost thank Hashem that we were fortunate enough to like be able to do it because you know.
Oh my goodness. I told this to Rabbanit Menasseh.
Yes. The conversation they're having inside, that they too want to do it so bad. Like, how many times, if you think about it, this is why I say, like, I never like bash a shaitel wear because I wonder always, how many times have they had this conversation with themselves that they want to so bad? How many tears have been shed that they wish they had the koyak to face and to guard against like those comments that people make? And I feel like, you know, I wish that the rest of Klal Yisrael would be aware of the weight that their words are, right? And there's so many other things. Like, if you want to go attack Yankele, who brought Molly driving on Shabbat to the shul, right? Like, we don't say anything about this. This, we say nothing. We are all, that's it. Chafetz Chaim said we should not speak, you know, Lashon Hara. We don't want to speak Shemra, Has v'Shalom. You know, we're just so happy Yankele came, right?
Right.
Rivka comes with a mitpachat Hilul Hashem. What are you doing? We demand we're not even going to do shachri until you take this off your head. This is what it is.
But I'll tell you a secret. It's only in the beginning. Like Chasdei Hashem, I've been covering. I called Rabbi Chaim to figure out. I had forgotten how many years. Thank you to Hashem. It's been 7 years that I've been covering.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten a comment, and I think it is because of the way I carry myself,
Right.
and the I'm so proud. Like, I'm proud to look Jewish.
Right.
Like, I have this pride. It smothers everybody.
Tell you, I listen again. I know you, I know your community, and I know that the people of your community are very proud of you. Like, they're very proud of you. Like, for all
yes, they are.
That they're so proud.
I'll tell you again. Everything belongs to Hashem. But when I started to cover with a mitpachat, I gave koach to so many people who were afraid.
Right.
But now they're like, wait a minute, she's wearing it, so we can wear it. Little by little, I saw Rebbitzins even who were wearing the shaitel. Little by little, I saw the transformation. I always love to give the example of the ripped jeans.
Right.
The first person who ripped their jeans, what did they do? They gave koach to all the ripped jeans. So it's in Kedusha also lahavdil elef havdalot. In Kedusha, whatever is the correct thing to do, and we have to make sure it's correct. Like if somebody's gonna come telling me, I want to wear 4 pairs of stockings on top of each other,
Right.
we're gonna think something is really off. I'm talking about
the Rav has said, because I don't know if you remember, he gave this story about a gal that came in from Eretz Israel and it was wearing this way, and he said, "Be normal, like be normal." Yeah. It's not, the mitzvah is not to look like a shmata. The mitzvah is to be tzniut, and you can do that in the right way. You know, and I think sometimes that's the other problem, right? I don't know if you encounter this, that I think sometimes because there's not enough role models who are fashionable in a way that other women in Klal Yisrael will want to emulate. And it's like you said, you know, unfortunately, there is this stigma with Orthodox women that they just throw everything so long as it's meeting all the requirements. Forget if it looks good. It doesn't have to look good so long as it's meeting all the requirements. And, you know, I mean, you and I, we have the same Rav, and he says that's not the mitzvah. Like, be normal. Like, you know, mamash, not 4 pairs of socks. Like, be normal. Do not put the mitpachat here, right? Like, be normal. I mean, do you think that a lot of women struggle with this?
So peer pressure has a lot to do with it. People want to fit in. It's very important for people to fit in. If you've noticed that, you know, everybody wants to have the same kind of wig, the same kind of dress, the same kind of stockings. Fitting in is really important. So I feel that to cover with a mitpachat needs a real connection with Hashem. Like, you can't expect somebody who was wearing a mini skirt yesterday to put on a mitpachat today.
Very true.
Just
very true.
It's not gonna work. It has to, you know, Hashem put me in a path where I saw his hand. And the funny thing was Hashem had so many good things waiting to give me from the mitpachat that it just, I was so happy. Like, you know, it's like Hashem wants to give you gifts. I'll never forget when Rebbetzin Manasseh, I still remember the picture in my mind. They were having a Shavuot bake sale in somebody's house here in Kensington. And it was a couple of months after I was covering, and I came to her and I said, Rabbanit, I want to tell you something. When I started to cover my hair with a mitpachat for your refuah shlema, I thought I'm saving your life, but I didn't realize that you were saving my life.
Yeah, and I want to say, for those of you who don't know who we're talking about, Belly Netter, I'm going to link, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're not watching on YouTube, go to YouTube, and I'm going to, Belly Netter, put the link to one of her shirim. This was an amazing Rabbanit, filled with, and her husband too, also, you know, who's no longer with us. These were, I mean, mamash, you want to talk about kadosh, like they were really amazing people. And they were both such heroes of tzniut and of the mitpachat, and their daughters. So I've met the daughters, wonderful people. I'm telling you, I was not fortunate. I was not zochet enough to meet the Rabbanit, but it's funny. I met her through her shir. The ironic thing is that I was listening to her shir, and I don't know if you remember, somebody in the community had me come out and speak at their house. I had no idea. I was listening to this shir, and it happened to be the Rabbanit. And I had no idea that it was her daughter who was co-hosting me. And it was like, I felt like this was the Rabbanit from Shemaim. You know, what a wonderful Rabbanit. And I pray that those of you who will be fortunate enough to hear her, that you would be really inspired from her. I mean, I can see why she inspired you so much. She is really an inspirational, or was an inspirational person. And I pray that her words will continue to inspire women even now.
Amen. 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 You know, what was so beautiful about her was that she never spoke to anybody to cover a mitpachat. She was just a role model. The way she carried herself, the way she covered, you just wanted to be like her.
Right. And I think that's
It's
the
not.
best.
It wasn't.
That's the best. I mean, there's been people say, what do I say to someone? What do I say? And I said, there's nothing you can say. You just have to be. You just have to live it. You have to let people see you. And like you said, that chen that comes over you and over your words and the way you move and the people's reaction to you. And you are going to want that yourself. And I'm telling you, there's something, it's like the magical mitpachat, if I could say that. There is something that really happens, like that shakes the shemaim, and all of this shefa comes down upon you. And I gotta tell you, like, if you've not experienced this, you really don't know what you're missing. Like, you don't know what you're missing. And the fact that it's a mitzvah that is not really highly regarded, that's kind of almost thrown. You know, I remember when I was teaching Adorn with Dignity, and I remember reading one of the days, and it said that for like, let's say no one, like, I don't know if you've heard Devorah's story. I think she and I were it in this town. And yet there are Jewish people in this town. We get the reward as if all of them were covering at the highest level, the correct way. So, I mean, this is how powerful this mitzvah is. And you know, I've had Rabbi Cohen, and she came on and she said that this had the power to not only secure the woman and her home and her household, but even the whole city. I mean, people really need, I think, like you said, get this education. I think that if you are experiencing, chas v'shalom, a lot of trouble, look into this mitzvah, look into it. And like I said, maybe, like you said, you're not going to go from a mini skirt to the full shebang. Maybe not. Maybe they need to start like you, 40 days. Maybe they need to start with 2 inches longer on the skirt, 2 inches shorter on the sheitel, whatever it is. But I'm telling you, Hashem will meet you. Hashem is literally like your shadow. When you move, he moves. Wherever you move, he moves. Wherever
Hashem holds our hands.
And he will do this, and he will help you. And it's like you said, it really is almost in the beginning, because I almost feel like, you know, to an extent, I feel like, you know, I should not be tested. I'm not saying this to be tested, but I feel like the Yetzirah, he's kind of moved on. Like I think he's kind of see like, it's not going to go anywhere. Like she's just going to buy more probably. So I'm not going to even bother her with this.
He has a lot of other things to test us with. It's okay.
No, we should not test it. But I got to tell you, this is only in the beginning, and only in the beginning do you feel these weird thoughts that everyone's looking at you, and even the birds are looking at you, and everyone is stopping. Everyone who's driving is looking at you. And so you do get this feeling, there's no question about it, but I think it's only in the beginning. And I think after that, you really do get the confidence, and what you will get after that is the compliments. I mean, a lot of people will say, you look very, very beautiful. You've put this together very great. And I think that Hashem, he does that. He gives this gift to all of his daughters, and whatever they want to do, whatever mitzvah, he will help them. And I think this is no less. I mean, he really will. And I think even more so because there's so few people doing it or willing to do it.
If we're looking for Yeshuot, tzniut is the way.
Right. And you know, it's funny. You ever notice when we have these communities things, right? At least our Rav tells us that tzniut, right? Most communities, they say, let's do a challah bake, let's do this, let's do that. Tzniut is never it. That's never what they want to take upon themselves. But I'm telling you, like you said, get 40 people, do it in a group. Maybe like, you know, like you said, strengthen numbers, right? Like if you have other people who are doing it, maybe you will find the courage. And maybe you will be just like Leah, and you will say, all right, here we are, day 45, still going. Day 54, still going, you know. And who knows? You never know. Like you could end up
Thank you, Hashem.
Yeah, you could end up saying like, oh my gosh, like this isn't as bad as I thought it was. But
and you know what? Even if it is, I want to admit that Baruch Hashem, I've been covering for 7 years, but I think one of the biggest tests I had was at my daughter's wedding. I think that at a wedding, everybody gets their sheitel done, and you know all the glamour and everything.
You're the mother of the bride.
I'm the mother of the bride, and I felt the test all over again, but I just remembered like telling myself, but this is what you wanted. You wanted to cover like this. You're getting your chance. And I just felt so good about it that I remember just feeling really like it's the test comes, but at this, as fast as it comes, it can leave just as fast, as long as we're feeling good about what we're doing.
Right. And I think that, like you said, the test comes, and sometimes maybe the answer does come knocking on your door. And has v'shalom, let's say you went back, right? Get back the next day. That's it. The very next time, get back. I got to tell you, I have had the unfortunate experience of being in the dirt a few times, right? And then I get up and I find myself in the dirt. But what I find is that for every time I get up, I feel like this greater love from Hashem. And this is no different. It really is no different. Hashem always has his arms open for you. I remember when Rabbi Haimoff once said, about the baby, and Hashem, is like the ima, right? Where when the baby soils himself, Abba says, "Here, you take him. I can't deal with this," right? And Hashem says, "Yes, I'll take it," because they give it to Ima, and Ima can take it. Ima can. Don't ask me how we can take it, but we can take it, and we clean the baby up. And I'm telling you, whatever it is, wherever you find yourself in this journey, I really, really, really know that Hashem will come through for you. And I pray that these stories will also be a source of hizuk for you. It's always so wonderful to have our guest on. Leah, you've been so instrumental, I think, for myself. I got to tell you, I'm very, very happy to have had you on, because I'm telling you, you've given me a lot of healing. And I'm glad I got it again. Here it is. We're coming full circle. Parashat Chas, when all the daggers, I look at these now as the medals, right? Like everyone is giving me the medals. And thank you, because I never really thought of it that way. And I think now maybe I can give that away and make room for something even better for Hashem to fill in my life. But certainly I am always so happy that he fills my life with people like yourself. And I look forward to all the wonderful people that he will bring into my life. But that's it for today. And I hope we'll all be together again soon. B'ezrat Hashem.
Thank you.
If you've enjoyed this video or know someone who would, please share it. Siku mitzvot. If you'd like to be notified of upcoming episodes for the Mitpachat Chronicles, click subscribe to be notified.